And so if we take a look, we have this new game state file, and it has all these getters and a few setters. We have our game, and so it looks like everything's kind of working the way it was before. So now if we want to refactor this to use to send a notification and have game state catch that notification, I guess like it's an event. So game state want to observe the objects. So I suppose we need a new event. Where is that? Under game. Where did we put event? So we have our input handler. Wait, oh, that's in game state now, isn't it? Yeah, so jump over obstacle event is just created right here. So I could create another one. So const, instead of jump over obstacle event, this is going to be ran into or collided with obstacle event. And I want to bring up OBS just in case. All right, good. That brings up chat for me. Okay, so collided with obstacle event. We're going to set this equal to a new event system. Now we can pass this around. So we're already doing this with the player. The obstacles can now have this collided with obstacle event as well. So let's go have them sort of like deal with this. So constructor, this is collided collided event. And we'll just store it internally. This dot collided with, I mean, essentially it's collided with me equals collided event. I'll put an event on that. So then we have, now who's doing that? Select the player is writer player, initialize, reset, update. Ooh, wait, no, it's the player that's doing that, isn't it? The player is hitting obstacles. So the player is the one who is going to emit that. So it's not going to be up here. We're going to go to player. So when we create, not player. So in game state, we have the collided with obstacle event. I guess this is it's just a collided event, because maybe in the future we'll have other obstacles. Maybe they're not called obstacles and you can still collide with them. I don't know. Let's just name it collided event. So we have obstacles. Okay, so here's a player. So we need to give this to the player at this point. So this is going to be the collided event passed into here. And then the game state itself, I think, is going to be the one that listens to that. But let's take this in here. Collided event comes in. We're going to store this. This dot collided event equals collided event. And let's do the same thing we have here. We're going to add, I guess we're not adding the observer. This is going to just register. So we're just going to use this event. So when we are is hitting, so I guess at this point in time, unfortunately, we need to change this to if, and then this entire fun thing. Take you out, put you into this if statement. So if this is true, then we want to call this dot jump over, this dot collided event. This dot collided event dot, I think it's just notify. Yeah, just dot notify entity and event. Notify the entity. I guess the entity is this. So the player is the entity. And the event is, we have all of these globals here. Collided with obstacle. And then we want to return true. And here we're going to return false. Okay, so this should... Yeah, okay, it's a little bit weird the way this sort of has worked out, but I think it works. Now, if I want to have the game state listening for this, well, we kind of already have the collided event. We need to now register ourselves, the game state that is, into this event. So this is collided event dot, what is it? The event system, add observer. So add observer, we're going to put in this. So we're going to store ourselves into the add observer. We're not really going to care. It's just as long as this collided event happens, we will we'll keep an eye out for that. Now, if we collide, what's going to happen? The collision event, so an event system, it's going to run the onNotify function in here. So we need an onNotify function that takes the event, it takes the entity and the event. So onNotify. This takes the entity and the event. And I guess we need to know if the event is that collision, then we're just we're ending the game. And really all that means is that we're setting running to be false. And I think we have the setter here, so we could just use that. So if event is equal to collide with obstacle, then we want to this dot running equals false. That's it. So if I save that, now in the main game, I believe, are we checking that still? We're checking to see if it is. So if we're not rebinding, get all the commands, and then run all the commands. If we're running and rebinding is false, here we go. If game state get good player is hitting an obstacle, game state running is false. I want to remove this piece of code now. Now the reason for that is I want the game state now to be handling that. So it's listening to the player, and the player is saying like, oh yeah, I hit something. Now the game says like, okay, fine, we're halting the game. We're no longer running. But that should be it, and everything should still work. Let's find out. I can still play. Ooh, but it doesn't stop running, and there's no errors. Move this down to the bottom again. So there's no errors here. Also, we have a console log, it looks like, in world.js. Line, there it goes. We don't need to know how many trees there are. So that's not working the way we wanted it to. If the player, okay, so this dot collided event is this collided event on notify. Then there's this game. Let's see whether or not our game state is running this function here. Let's put a quick console.log collided. No, okay, so there's no collided for that. Let's see if we ruined our if like we messed this up. So console.log player collided. No, it did not. Okay, so the observer might still be working. It's just that in this is hitting obstacle, I kind of messed this up. Oh wait, you know what? I removed the code that does the entire like hitting thing. I didn't need to do that. Basically, I should probably rename this to like handle like check if hitting obstacle. And maybe this should even be part of like update. But okay, so check if hitting obstacle. We need to come back to game here. I was a little bit overzealous. So instead of this if statement now, we're gonna say game state.player. It's now check if hitting, I believe. Check if hitting. We're past the obstacle, but that's it. That's all we're doing here. And okay, and it sets over to the game over. So we get our player collided. So in player, you happen there. And in game state, I had removed the console log from this. So perfect. That still works. So we're able to now have a message go out whenever the player successfully hits, runs into an obstacle. And it should happen regardless for whichever obstacle, like the first or second. Yes. Now, I mean, the collision boxes are a little bit off. That's not necessarily the fault of the observer pattern. That's the fault of the player's this system right here. And this can be tweaked to make it a little bit better. We could probably like figure out some way to tweak the collision box with it. But okay, I think this works. We don't even need a return anymore, do we? We just need to know if this is happening, send this notification. Otherwise, the player doesn't care about like returning from this. Okay, that's pretty good. So we now have started, well, we now have a notification when we end the game because we've hit that. Now if I want another one to work, if we need to restart, like we pressed space or something like that. This might be a little bit more difficult. If I want to send a notification for an event like we pressed the space bar, it's not that we pressed the space bar, it's that we sent the space command. Wouldn't that be? Now currently, it's in our main game. We have this key pressed. So we have this key pressed, and then we just have this rebinding and key code. I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure if I want to refactor those. This might be just exactly the way we want it to be. Is okay. We now are we have the two messages happening, which is ending the game in. Is it ending the game in two different ways? No, it's doing the points and ending the game because we ran into something. The rest of that is the input handler is giving us the commands, and then we're running them. And so I think that's fine. And of course, we could do a little bit more UI type things. I don't necessarily want like the score to be separated out. And the rebinding jump, like I guess when I click them, that could go into like send a notification, but right. I don't know. I think this is good.